Welcome, everybody, and we're so glad you're here today. Happy New Year to you all, first of all, and welcome and thank you for joining us today. This is the first workshop for 2021 for us, and it's program selling, managing the process from pricing to launch. So just our housekeeping matters here. So the session is being recorded. All of the attendees, you've all been muted, but we do want to hear from you. So we encourage you to use that chat function or the Q&A section in your Zoom toolbar and pose any questions or give us feedback as we go along. We have Vicki here with us today, and she'll be monitoring those throughout. We'll try to answer you as we can, but we may hold those towards the end of the webinar, where we will be staying on for another, 15 minutes after the presentation to answer any of those additional questions. So if you can't stay for that Q&A session, don't worry. As I mentioned, we will be recording, so you'll be able to catch that. We'll send that recording to you later today. But please, right now, give us your attention. We're here to help you grow sales, and that's our focus today. But before we get started, I just want to share those results of that poll we were talking about. And it looks like a majority of you are new to program selling and you want to get started, which is awesome to see. We're so glad you're here. You're in the right place. We've got a lot of great content for you. So we'll get started with it all. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Jill Kennedy, and I have been with Navitor for 14 years now. And I work with the sales and marketing teams focusing on customer and sales support. And it's really great to be a part of these workshops because it gives me that opportunity to hear from you all and to learn what you need from us to support your sales efforts. And today I'm joined by 3 of Navitor's most experienced team members who will be sharing their knowledge and their experience helping distributors assess and launch programs for their customers. So first, we have Adam Christensen. Adam has been in the printing industry for 10 years and is a business development authority. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
Thank you, Jill. Excited to be here and to teach these distributors on how to discover a program and then build from there.
Great, awesome. And the next we have Marnie Slack, who's been with our organization for about 15 years and now works closely with distributor partners to generate that revenue growth. She's our program selling specialist. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us today, Marnie.
Absolutely, Jill. And really, just to call out, I really appreciate all of you that have chosen to ultimately invest your time in your business and learn new insights that could potentially propel your business to the next level. So I hope that you find this time valuable and take a tip or two away. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Marnie. So rounding out our presenters then, we have Amanda Vogel, and she brings in 21 years of experience, both in print and promo. Amanda is our revenue gap filler. Hey, Amanda.
Hi, Jill. Good morning, everybody. Super excited to get through this presentation today because confession, ink on paper, and technology are 2 of my favorite things, so I get a little excited.
Awesome, thank you. So what can you expect in today's workshop? If you were able to join us for our first program selling workshop, which I mentioned a little bit earlier, we focused heavily on how to assess your existing and potential customers to determine which may be a best fit for a program. So again, I'm going to mention the quick pitch. We do have a recording to that initial webinar, and it's housed out on our Navitor YouTube page if you need a refresher. So I encourage you to go check it out. But in today's session, we'll start with that little review, and then we'll dig in deeper with tips and best practices for managing the process, including how to determine the best solutions for your customers, as well as how to address the timelines and those customer expectations that may come up. Why are we encouraging program selling? There are some obvious cost and labor savings that Marnie will go into in a minute or so, but just as importantly, it encourages customer retention. And that's that ability to turn customers into repeat buyers and prevent them from switching to your competitor. So programs help create a level of loyalty and a stickiness that transactional selling does not. Let's look at some numbers here. So engaged existing customers buy 90% more frequently and spend 60% more per transaction. Having a program, and especially one that uses technology, makes that ordering easier. Existing customers are 50% more likely to try new products. This encourages cross-selling and upselling. You have a captive audience to pitch what's new. And the ability to easily add those new products to an existing program, and maybe most importantly, increasing customer retention by 5% increases profits anywhere from 25 to 95%. Now that is an incentive. So let's get to it. Adam, I'm going to turn it over to you for a quick review on program selling and assessing a customer for that opportunity fit.
Thank you, Jill. Let's just get right into it and discovering those program opportunities with existing or potentially new customers for you. First, we need to determine if you're going to be with this certain customer going to be transaction or program selling. When you start with transactional selling, you're looking at the 1 to 2 orders a year, where with program selling, you're seeing multiple orders either weekly or daily. With the transactional selling part of it, you're maybe seeing 1 or 2 products with that 1 to 2 orders a year you're getting. Where program selling, you're seeing multiple products being ordered on a weekly or daily basis. In transactional selling, you're not really seeing technology just because that 1 or 2 orders isn't really up to our standards for a customer portal. But with program selling, technology and customer portals are going to make it a lot easier for you and your customer to place those orders and get business moving. Transactional, you're looking at budget focus. They're really only worried about price. They want the cheapest price possible or anything that fits into their budget. Where with program selling, there's longer evaluations determining price for one, but also looking at quality, looking at brand standards, looking at everything that involves so the company is giving the best product. And then the last thing with transactional selling, you're researching and problem solving for the customer. You're just looking around to find that product that they want to order that they will maybe reorder in a year. Where with program selling, we're quoting and problem solving. Navitor is becoming a partner with you guys to bring that program in, be your expert, give you any advice or any tools to really build that brand, build that program to get the business going and growing actually for you. After determining those 2 factors, you have to target the opportunity. Who do you want to go after? So one is organizations looking for mergers and acquisitions. This seems like this has been happening a lot lately, but with that, there's going to be a lot of rebranding that goes to it. With rebranding, there's going to be a lot more print materials that are going to need to be ordered. So that's a good one to start with. Multiple locations. Banks are a good example with locations across the country or within your region. Keeping that brand standard even and consistent is a good one for you too. New and existing accounts, Jill had mentioned it before, but if you have existing accounts that are doing transactional selling with you right now, still might have the opportunity for program selling. So that would be a great one to look at if they have the amount of business you think they can really bring in. We do have, or if you have a customer that has an annual program that could be over $5,000, that is our standard. So that's a good one to look at. If they are already bringing in a lot of print for you, a program could be a really good hit to grow that even more. And then companies with 100+ employees, with transactional selling, you're really only dealing with one person that's going to be that one point of contact to determine what needs to be ordered. With these type of large companies, you're dealing with a procurement department, marketing department, a lot of different ends that need to become the determining factor on what they want to order or what they need for their business to be successful and grow. So those are a lot of, there's obviously a lot more out there, but these are some of the top ones that we've seen here. Now that you have determined what kind of account you want to go after, we do actually have a tool that can assess what you're looking for. So it is something that determines who the customer is, how many employees they have, how many locations, what are their target products for print, who orders them. So as you can see, Lake State Bank and Trust is a prime example for this. They have 250 employees at 7 locations, and their office manager orders those things on a weekly basis through emails and PO. And they're actually getting direct shipped to that location. So looking at all that, this would actually be a good recommendation for a customer portal program because of all the ins and outs that they're dealing with. And then it'll actually make it easier on that office manager to place an order or and get the ball rolling there and get those orders to those locations that they need. Now with that, I'm going to pass it over to Marnie, who's going to talk about validating, recommending, and finalizing these programs.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Adam. Really good information, and thanks for the setup. So as we progress through the sales process, we're going to spend a little time on validating recommending, and those finalized stages as part of the sales process. And so now that you have identified and addressed the needs of your clients, first we're going to look at validation. So whether that's through product or technology, you're earning support for that recommendation. So let's take a look at what that might look like. So within the recommendation process, you're developing a specific solution based on what you've previously learned. So think about product for a minute. So this slide really represents many of the solutions that we bring to our distributor partners. So again, as a full service provider, Navitor understands that our distributors want to pick and choose the products, the technology, and the level of support that they believe works best for their particular business. And so if your customer asks about a single product, ask questions and probe deeper about what else. Okay, so think about this for a minute. If your customer approaches you and says, hey, I need some business cards, you also might want to pivot and ask about what other products they're using. So for instance, you know, what other products are they consuming in their office? Is it letterhead or envelopes or folders, for instance? And so I think the key point here is awareness. So you want to make sure that your customers are aware of all of the products that you offer. And so product isn't necessarily the only driver when recommending a solution. Let's touch on technology next. All right, so based on what you have learned from the discovery phase, timing may also be right for addressing technology. And so Navitor has several options for incorporating technology into new or existing programs. And so many of you might have been on our technology webinar that we recently hosted, but again, I think it's important to review the options that we have. So the first option is Navink Ecom, or what we call our full end-to-end solution, or you're utilizing our cart. Okay, so let's say that you have a customer that wants a branded store for their employees to purchase from, or let's say that you want to target and market to end customers to expand your customer base. Navink e-commerce is going to be a perfect option for you. And so some of the direct benefits for your customers will include brand control or centralized procurement, resource conservation, and flexibility. There are also benefits for you. Managing print is going to be easy and economical. It's going to increase revenue for you and retention. Jill talked a little bit about that sticky factor, okay? It's also going to reduce errors. And so Navink Ecom is definitely a solution that you might want to explore, okay? Our second option that we have is Nav Inc., okay? And this is where you're looking to add new revenue to your existing e-commerce platform. So here we're going to be integrating with your e-commerce solution. So think about it. If you have a product builder and you want to add Navitor as your manufacturing partner, Nav Inc. is going to be an option for you. Okay. Third, I want to touch on our full CXML integration to our Navitor production. So this is where you're looking to add new revenue to your existing e-commerce platform. Okay. So let's say that you want to take a look at or connect your site to all of the products that Navitor offers. Okay, so Jill, let's take a look at those poll results that we had. Okay, great. So here, many of you are looking to, when you're proposing a program to a client, you're looking at all of the above. So pricing and product mix and technology. So great. And then there's quite a few people that aren't currently selling programs. So again, we're hoping that you can take some tips and tricks away from our session today. So great, thanks so much. So again, just a note that several weeks ago, again, we hosted that technology webinar. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to check out our Navitor YouTube page or reach out to another member of our team. All right, as we move on into selling the value. So given the highly interactive nature of personalized products, it's no wonder that consumers place a high value on their experience in doing so. And so there are obviously cost reductions versus those that aren't so obvious, okay? So in this analogy, you're seeing an iceberg. So the iceberg is protruding out of the water. And that's really what your customer sees above the surface are those hard cost benefits, okay? So here, we're looking at general cost reductions. So how are you helping your customer find ways to, let's say, reduce their investment on printed materials? Have you discussed a print on demand option versus inventoried of printed items? Okay. Second, overall cost reduction. So you're looking to share in their efforts to reduce or reallocate costs. Think about overhead or administrative. Revenue enhancement. So, discussing areas of savings that can ultimately be reinvested in their business to support, let's say, other growth initiatives. Okay. And now think about those soft cost benefits. So again, below the surface. So we'll touch on cost flow improvement or cost avoidance. And third, employee satisfaction. So think about, there's going to be less time that's going to be focused on procurement activities, leading to higher productivity and employee retention. So again, keep those hard costs and soft costs benefits in mind. And the last thing that I'll leave you on this slide is really, selling on value that you bring to your customer and not just on price alone. Again, think of the product assortment, think about the manufacturing capabilities through your manufacturer. And so again, present those to your customers versus just on price alone. All right, so now that we have presented both product and technology, you have likely secured the agreement from your customer to move forward. So as a distributor, you have a very important job to communicate the implementation plan to your customer. It's important to highlight, who are they going to be engaging with? What is needed to begin the process? And what can they expect from a timing perspective? Okay, so as your manufacturing partner, we're going to ask you to sign an agreement. And we would suggest that you do the same with your customer. So how will you handle inventories or master stock items or various liabilities? Again, it's always a good idea to have these details captured in writing. So just a quick story here of kind of how we're wrapping this all together today is I recently worked with a distributor on a new program for a national healthcare conglomerate. And the end client was interested in a variety of products. So we discussed name badges and posters and letterhead. We also had discussed technology and really ultimately the most efficient way to submit orders. We were going to be receiving a high volume of orders for this particular program. And so our team had executed on about a $15,000 job, a manual job that came into us. And now we're going to be moving forward with connecting with their system to receive all of those new orders via CXML. And so at this stage, our implementation teams have been introduced. And so now we're working through the connection with our distributor partners. So again, we discussed product and technology, and now we're working to that implementation phase. All right. So the story that I just shared is really a perfect example of how we're taking our engagements and relationships to the next level and really focusing on those all important strategic aspects of a partnership. And so as I was preparing for this session, I had gone in my archives and saved this great slide here. And so courtesy of the team at the PSDA and part of the strategic partnership toolkit, the points on this slide really encompass a simple yet important elements of a customer relationship and really set us up for engagement and long-term success. Okay, so just a couple of the points that I want to highlight is it's really important to understand and identify what's required from each partner. Also map out, who's going to be responsible for project completion and the communication with your partner. Schedule meetings. It's important to calibrate frequently so everybody is on the same page. Sharing information and identifying the action steps and what's required of each. And then ultimately identifying the metrics that are going to be used to monitor performance. Okay, so those are all really important aspects of, again, setting yourselves up for long-term success. So now that I have covered really ultimately the validate and the recommend and the finalize stage, now we're going to move it forward into onboarding and execution. So I'm going to turn it over to Amanda.
Thanks, Marnie. Okay, so, Marnie got us really into a good spot, and probably the burning question now is, what does this look like? What is involved in the onboarding process? So to cover that, the first thing we're going to look at is the process overview here. And initially that first stage is really the planning, right? You're doing the quote, you're getting a sign off on the quotation, you're talking about billing requirements and technology needs and making sure there's print ready artwork and determining how the client would like the templates to work on this ordering site. And depending on connectivity requirements, other parties will need to be involved in that planning stage as well, because maybe it's your IT department, or if there's a third-party technology provider, that's a good spot to have them plug in. That way everyone's asking the right questions and understanding what that full picture is. And then from there, we move into that proofing stage. So once you're able to provide all those findings from that planning stage to us, along with that print-ready artwork, we move into building proofs. And the process will always include PDF template proofs that'll show you where those variable fields are, what's going to be static on the proofs. But in some cases, we may even just do basic PDF proofs to make sure the artwork is right and it's on the right products and everything looks good. But then also the idea of press proofs as well, because the big thing is wanting to make sure that that desired end result is achievable. And those are big things that sometimes can get overlooked in the process. So we do put some emphasis there. From there, when we get those proofs ready, the time comes to you having to review those proofs with your client. And it's really important to sit down with the client and just fine-tooth comb all of these, make sure everything's there, nothing was missed or misinterpreted, because from there, that's when we're going to start building templates, right? So just making sure that that awareness is there and how important that piece is. We don't want to have to go back and do adjustments and things once the sites are ready to go. It's easier to catch it up front. So when you get that approval, the next step is we will start building the actual templates themselves. And along with building templates, there's also a data piece that has to happen too. And we have to create SKUs that are going to have all the product information. So when the order goes to production, production knows what they're doing. So all the more important reason to have all that heavy lifting with the customer up front to determine stocks and printing processes and all that stuff. So once those templates are built, we have you test them out with your client, just make sure everything looks right and works the way you'd expect it to. And once we get the green light there, that's when we transition into site build. And for the site build, you know, that's kind of when we'll wrap it all up and get it all put together. But depending on if there are any integrations, this is also when the teams will need to reconnect, whether again it's your IT team or a third-party tech provider. We just want to make sure everybody's looped in and going through the whole piece together and getting it all tied together. And finally, the light at the end of the tunnel is go live. So once the site's ready, that's when you'll have that final meeting with your client and you'll place a test order with them to make sure everything goes through as it should. And then once everyone agrees that everything's in working order, we can remove that under construction verbiage, and then they can start placing their orders. And one key that I just want to throw out there is, especially if you're new to this process, we're here to help. So in that planning phase, you can have someone from Navitor on that call with you to help ask those questions that you might not know need to be asked. And again, even with reviewing the templates too, right? We can have those conversations with you so that way it takes that guesswork off your plate and it's more of a productive process all along. Because the next part that I want to share with you is the timeline, right? Because that's the big question. How long does something like this take? And that's part of the reason why we wanted to make sure these steps are clear so you can understand the importance behind them. But what we have here is a timeline that you'll get a copy of when this presentation is done, and you can share it with your client because it helps paint a good picture as to what happens and how long it takes. And depending on the complexity of the project, a site could be up and running in as little as 3 to 4 weeks. Like we show here, it really boils down to how many items have been requested, what type of connectivity we're working with, how complex the templates need to be. And it just, you know, it kind of breaks it down from there because it's a process. So we won't spend a ton of time on that because like we said, we'll provide that to you. But the last piece that I want to leave you guys with are just some things to keep in mind. Because based off of our past experiences, there's some things that we've learned and always kind of tend to rear their head. And the first and foremost is do not make assumptions. You want to make sure that you ask lots of questions to your customer, ask lots of questions to us, make sure there's a good understanding of what needs to happen, because we like to share stories, right? Because we learn from what's happened in the past. we actually had a situation where we were building a site and we were all the way to that final testing phase. And we found out that that end user, the client, wasn't involved in the approval stages. And we actually had to scrap the project and start from the beginning because assumptions were made. And even though, yep, it sounded like a great concept, it's not what that customer wanted. So ask questions. Material selection and print processing, let's nail that down in the quoting stage, because that information is needed for us to build those templates and those SKUs. If that information changes, we're starting all over. Print ready artwork, kind of a no-brainer, right? But sometimes that's a struggle. So one of the things we did to help you guys is on our Navitor.com website, we have a full library of templates for our products, so that way the artwork can get set up within the margins and bleeds and all that fun stuff. And then we also have explanations on how to create print ready files as well and what some of those requirements are. So check that out. And then the other two final pieces that we have here is our pro tip is that press proofs are almost always a great idea. So we strongly encourage them, because even though a file looks great on a screen, what happens when that file gets on paper sometimes is a little different. So doing that up front for a customer is going to help add value to that sell, and it's going to show that you have concerns for their brand standards too. And then the last thing here is just about templates. We have a little screenshot here of how a template would work for a business card. And you really want to understand that when you're talking with your customer, understanding that things can be static, like the logo or maybe the website. There might be a drop-down menu for things that are commonly used, like titles, so you don't have to worry about people making up their own. And then open text fields, because they're going to want to be able to type in their name or their email address. So just having an awareness of that is going to be important. And that's another spot that we're always willing to help show you examples and teach you and lead that way and have those conversations with you and your client. So I know that was a lot to cram in, but those are all really important facts. So we'll kick it back over to Adam now so he can give us some ideas to get our wheels spinning.
Thank you, Amanda. With the country opening back up and hopefully all of us getting back to a new normal, a lot of these companies are going to be wanting to pump up their brand, get their brand identity going. So Navitor offers a lot of products that are able to get that brand going, especially when I mentioned earlier about companies or organizations that went through a merger or acquisition. That rebranding that they're going through is going to be a key part here on what they want to get ordered for print, especially if they have new employees coming in. Things like business cards and name badges are going to be huge for them because they need to get the ball rolling right away and get to work. So that type of information and those type of products, they're going to need right away to get going. The one big opportunity that we're seeing for programs right now, especially with what's going on, is the vaccine. A lot of these arenas, large corporate areas are starting to bring the vaccine distribution into play here. So a lot of products are going to be needed that Navitor is able to offer, as you can see here, floor decals, banners, everything like that. So that is one of the key opportunities that we're seeing right here. I mentioned the floor decals and the banners, but also our scent checks. These are a great tool for daily screenings to be used at home or at work to detect loss or a loss of smell, which is the main indication for COVID. We also have the Scent Check Pro, offers reporting capabilities for businesses to help manage their symptoms and screening protocol, make sure everything is in line for their protocol so everything stays safe for them. That, and along with the other products that you see here, are just great opportunities that you can present to this type of customer, especially in the vaccine area.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, I mean, and speaking of vaccination clinics, I wanted to share with you that Navitor has just launched a vaccine support page on Navitor.com. So from this page, you can access support materials such as sales flyers, booklets. We also offer print-ready templates with vaccine-themed artwork ready to go. So you can either download those and customize them yourself, or you can use them and then upload them to Navitor.com and customize within our own design studio on Navitor.com itself. So some really great opportunities for you there to get some of those quick products in, for those quick orders that may be coming up with during this time, because we're seeing a lot of that, more of that vaccination, those vaccination clinics just popping up in different areas. But these are also great for programs too. So if you have a place that's planning on having these clinics on a regular basis, and they need to, each location maybe needs to create their own orders. They have to order refills for their forms, or they have to order refills for different types of decals, etc., stickers. They can do that, and a program's a great option for that. So check that out. But if you don't have access to Navitor.com, if you go to Navitor.com, just click on sign up when you visit the site, and we'll get you going, because we are here to help you all. So I just want to check that poll that we just put out there. So we were asking, what are your next steps? What are you going to do now? So it looks like the majority of you you're going to be looking at your customer portfolio. You're going to be identifying some of those potential program fits. And that's what we want to see. That's great. That's awesome. Want you to know that we're here to help you with that, and we're here to support you. So really, some really good information. Looks like some of you really have some current customers you're looking at, and you're going to be cross-selling and upselling. So, and a few that aren't quite ready yet, but we're here for you too. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing all that with us. Boy, wow, look at you guys, it's 10:30. That was a packed 30 minutes, wasn't it? So we're really glad that you're here. We're going to stay on for another 15 minutes to answer any questions you may have. I think we may have a few popping in, so we'll take a look at those. But for those of you that need to go, thank you so much for joining us. Remember to follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn if you haven't already, and also sign up for our emails so that you can get updated on the latest that Navitor has to offer. Things like this, our workshops, our webinars, all of that you'll get access to, you'll get notifications of. Fill out the survey on your way out to let us know what you'd like to see for future workshops. And if you'd like us to contact you for a program consultation, pop that information into the survey as well, and we'll give you a call. We'll get in touch with you, okay? On February 17th, put it on your calendar. We'll be hosting the next in our workshop series. That will be triple your product selections with e-commerce. So a little bit more into that technology realm. So we'll keep advancing in that. We see that as a great way for you to grow your business. So we'd love to see you all back for that. But on behalf of Navitor, I want to say Happy New Year to you all. Look forward to 2021. Yay. If this last year was our lesson, then let the future be our motivation, right? So please stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you all for joining us, and let's see if we have any questions. We're gonna take a look here. I'm gonna look in the Q&A here. So we have a question, and maybe Marnie, Amanda, what is G7?
Marnie?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So at Navitor, we are G7 certified, and what this means is that we are dedicated to ensuring the calibration on our presses meets a tighter standard than what's required within the industry. So in a nutshell, you can ensure that regardless of when a job is put on the press, your job will match over time from press to press, from location to location. And rest assured, we are G7 across our entire organization. So that's really important, again, to your customers, where brand integrity is of utmost importance. So you can be assured that your color is matching and color is consistent.
Yeah, and don't we, Marnie, do we match to even a tighter delta? Is that what it's?
We do, yes. We match to a tighter delta than what's required within the industry. So I think we're at a delta 3 or a 4, and the industry is a delta 5.
Great. Let's see. There's a question about us offering what we're offering exactly as far as branded websites. Is it a branded website? Is it a corporate store? So maybe you can touch a little bit on if it's like an actual branded website, or the options that we have.
Sure, absolutely. I can take that one. So we talked a little bit about branded e-commerce stores. So this is where we would set up templates on your behalf. One thing to keep in mind is that we've got a threshold where we typically hone in on. So if you've got a customer that spends about $5,000 wholesale annually, this might be a good fit for you. And so again, like I said, we set up the templates. We work through the implementation process with you. But if you're looking to expand your business and tap into our broader portfolio, NavInc might be another recommendation. And then the third option that I touched on is, let's say that you're using a different third-party software, for instance, 451 or Marcom are a couple, and you want to just send us work via CXML, we can do that integration as well.
Yeah. And I'd encourage you to pop onto our technology webinar if you have more questions. So that'll be in February 17th. So that will give you some more options and explain those options into detail as well. So I'd encourage you to take a look at that and join us for that one as well. So we did have some questions just about the documents that we're seeing, if they're going to be available. So that little checklist that Adam was sharing, where you can assess your customer. We do have that in a PDF format that will be going out later today with a copy of the webinar itself, the deck, and we'll also be sharing a recording of the webinar today. So you'll get those documents as well as the timeline steps that Amanda was talking about. So some of those materials that can kind of help you assess your customers for programs and know how to manage those expectations. So we'll get all those out to you. If we have any other questions, is it possible to schedule a one-on-one meeting? Cindy was asking. Yes, absolutely. Just when you leave, there should be a survey that will pop up for you. If you want to just let us know that you would like someone to get in touch with you. We have some folks that would be more than happy to talk with you about program opportunities. So we'll get that out to you. Will you share the slide that had all the services? Virginia, are you referring to the one that talks about the different options for be the
I'm thinking
the
of maybe
type services? Is that what you're referring to? I wonder. I don't know. Adam, can you flip back to that slide by chance?
Which one was it? Sorry, I cut out there for a second.
Oh, that's okay. Flip back to, I believe it was the technology one.
Okay.
And then Jill, I'm assuming also the sweet spot card. We can also attach that to the
Sure. Absolutely. So if that, Virginia, if that's what you're looking for, you can let me know. But hopefully that's what you're looking for. So that was what Marnie was just explaining again too. So it sounds like you all have a lot of questions about technology and what's available. And as I said, hop on, set your schedules right now for February 17th. So we'll talk more about technology then as well. And also you can go to the Navitor YouTube page and view our previous webinar that we did on technology. That will be housed there as well. That one was from a few weeks ago. So we'd love to have you check that out. Let's see.
Adam, can you click to the one prior to that? Virginia says it's one prior. We just want to make sure we're going to get the right one. This is the one you're looking for, right?
Oh, the solutions. Okay. Yep. Okay. And we can send this. We have a document that shows this as well. So we'll send that out, Virginia. We'll include that in our little packet, our follow-up packet in the email that you'll receive after the webinar a little later today. If you find that helpful, we'll include that.
Jill, we've got a question here in the chat about if the agreement with customers is year to year, if it's a 1-year agreement for the sites, I'm assuming.
Thanks, Vicki.
I can take that one. Brian, that's a good question. Yeah, the agreements are for 12 months from the execution date, or the date that once you sign off on that quotation is usually where we run with. So the quote itself is usually good depending on the product for 30 to 90 days. And then once the program is solidified and signed off on, then we lock that in for 12 months and we'll just do a review. Typically it starts about the quarter prior to the end of that year.
Great. Awesome. Any other questions from folks? We talk about that $5,000 threshold, and maybe Amanda or Marnie or Adam, any of you can maybe speak to why we have that threshold and why you think that's, a good indicator of a program fit.
Yeah, I can jump in on that, and Marnie, you can tie me off if you have anything else too. Is that it's really, when it comes to sites, there really is a lot involved with getting them set up and maintaining them and keeping them running. So to justify the amount of work and maintenance that has to go on, you really want to make sure that there's enough product that's flowing through there too. And sometimes that amount might seem high, right? But when you actually stop and look at the products that are there beyond just business cards, it doesn't take much to hit that mark, especially if you're adding in things like folders and labels and other document holders and stuff and the envelopes, right? It's looking at that bigger picture and trying to cover all those branded items that that client might be pulling in. So it's really just to cover the work that goes into it and the maintenance tied to it.
Yeah, and I would also chime in too is, when I talked about selling the value, I mean, technology certainly is one thing that you can bring to your customers. And, think about the administrative time that a website can offer. So if you've got somebody manually keying in order after order, submitting POs, that can certainly take a lot of time versus putting ultimately the keys to the car in your client's hands. They can submit the order. And then if there's different levels of approval that's required, that's fine. But ultimately, they're going to be submitting the orders on their behalf. So again, think of the hidden costs that come associated, the hidden benefits, if you will, that come alongside of putting up an e-store. So again, we're happy to consult with you on that. Sometimes, I've talked to customers where we start small. We start with, let's say that there's a huge volume of name badges that are coming through every time, and then the site just continues to compound and grow. And so, think about that option too.
Yeah. Are there any little key indicators, like I know that you've all seen, like repeat orders, maybe from a specific distributor. So for our distributors, is there any kind of red flag that they should kind of look for? Though, maybe this would be a great fit for a program. Would it be something like that? Boy, they order a ton of name badges. Maybe I should check into something else. What could be some of those red flags?
For me, I would say what I usually see are when they're doing a variety of business cards a year, right? That's usually an indicator that there's that many card holders within an organization. There's probably other collateral that's there too. And the other thing that I usually tend to coach my clients on is, are there more than one location? Like that's a huge sign that, right? Because that's one of the hardest things from a branding standards to kind of keep in check. If there are multiple locations, typically those locations can kind of go wherever to order their stuff. Whereas if there's an ordering site that they can all go to, that's locked down and it's easy. And then it takes the guesswork out for people that are new into these different locations. They don't have to worry about, where do I go to get this stuff? Here's the link, they go, they order it, and they get what they need. So those are my two big call outs.
Yeah. And I know we can see multi-products, right? With it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to touch on that too. I mean, think of the various products that can be available via an e-store. Again, back to my earlier point of thinking about the products that an office consumes in any given day. Rubber stamps or name badges or letterhead or envelopes. Some of the new products that we have available, Tyvek envelopes, TerraBoard envelopes. So again, we're happy to consult with you. And again, take a look at that solutions overview that Adam is showing on the screen here. There have been so many times that I've been in conversations where, my customers are saying, wow, I didn't realize that you can do this and you can do this and this. Now I don't have to reach out to 3 different suppliers to get all of these products. I can just come to you and you're a one-stop shop. So again, that's a big value.
Yeah, I know we think of like the addition of labels. We think of, Adam, you're a folder expert. And I know you've seen some verticals that have incorporated folders. Can you maybe mention some of those somewhere where that repeat folder order is a big deal? Maybe some ideas for verticals for that, because that's a great profit margin for folders.
Especially, yeah, that is, it's a high dollar item, so which means high profit. So when you think of banks, like I mentioned in my area, the multiple locations that are happening, especially for just a larger type of banks, there's so many banks across the United States that for a particular company, they all have to keep their brand guidelines the same. You don't want anyone tinkering with their coloring or wording or anything like that, because marketing or corporate isn't going to be happy with that because it's not hitting a certain PMS color or CMYK value. So having that type of store that's already had built-in templates for it, where they can't just change anything like that, they just change their contact information and go from there. That really steps up and gives a more promising look for the company when brands are staying consistent.
Yeah, yeah, and I think you see too, like in real estate, you know, I know you do a lot with folders with real estate, right? You could put an individual representative's image on a folder, and they can have that, and then each location can order on their own, which is really nice with involving the technology, right? I mean, where you know each one can kind of control their own ordering process.
And I just want to throw a comment on that real estate too. It's not just real estate
Mhm.
agents, but we have huge success with property management companies.
Yep.
Especially as they're bringing
Mhm.
on different apartment complexes and stuff like that. We talked earlier about acquisitions. If there's a site in place and acquisitions are happening, it just makes things go that much smoother on your client's behalf when they're trying to pull in a new piece of that business. So yeah, real estate, don't think just selling houses. There's more to that too. That's a good market.
Insurance
Yeah,
is the
keep your eyes
same
open.
kind of way too. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Insurance is the same kind of way where you're thinking, oh, it's just the corporate office. Well, no, there's those individual agents that need that same thing as a real estate agent. They need images, contact information. And on a website, if they're logging in and doing repeat business, no matter what the product is, it's right there saved for them because it's their login. So they'll be able to just go in, place a reorder, and then move along with their day.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome, you guys. Well, here we are at 10:45. So thank you all for joining us. I want to thank our panelists. Thank you, Vicki, for watching our chats and passing those along to us. So again, have a very happy new year. We're glad you're here. Come back and join us February 17th for our technology. It sounds like a lot of you had questions about that. But in the meantime, just please, everybody, stay healthy, stay happy, have a great new year. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye, guys.
Guys.